welcome to Salford Arts Theatre's First in the Company, with me, Ronnie Ellis.
And me, Libby Hall.
Celebrating Shelagh Delaney Day. And our first guest is the wonderful Jodie Prenger.
And we're off.
We're off. So Jodie, so first of all, it'd be really lovely if you can kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and about your own career and kind of your path to working with on the play A Taste of Honey.
I started many moons ago and sang in many a drag part. And it was just, I don't know, I'd always loved musical theatre. I'd always kind of loved theatre in its totality. And it was only really the BBC I'd Do Anything show. Yeah. I always say I tried to go for Joseph, but I didn't look good in the loincloth. And, especially after lockdown, you don't want to see these thighs. It's true, on it, everything's stretchy. And so I did the I Do Anything, the BBC show, and that really, from my past career of singing in the gay bars and the Working Men's Club. Oh, I've got to talk about Working Men's Club. Do you know I did it? I thought I was really coming up, and I did all the circuit in Blackpool. And they went, Jodie, we've got a booking for you. And what, outside of Blackpool? And they went, yeah, where? Strange Ways. I went, oh, that sounds nice. And I genuinely believe. Right, I genuinely believed I was cool. I didn't twig, didn't even have an inkling. And when I rocked up, I went, damn, this is a prison. And I remember, and I still remember to this day, it was one of the most fun gigs I have ever. It was for the Wardens Club, and we didn't half have a laugh. I loved it. Anyway, so I digress. So yes, it was the BBC show that really kind of launched me into the kind of the path, the career path I've always dreamt of. And it's kind of gone on from that, you know, the different aspects of, you know, being in a show like Oliver to then kind of evolving and then starting in plays like Shirley Valentine. And then, of course, you come round and the last show I did, thank goodness we weren't affected by the COVID, was Taste of Honey. And I remember getting a call from my agent going, you usually get a call to your agent to say, would you like to come in and read the part of Helen? And the minute my agent said that, my knees went weak because I got all nervous already. And then I knew the script from donkeys ago, but obviously they send you the script out. And as I was reading it, I thought, oh, it's my nan. I could hear my nan's voice because my nan's side of the family, and my granddad, they're all from Moss Side. My granddad was a Gorton Monastery choir boy. So I could really relate to those big, bolshy, glorious characters because I knew them, you know, and I've seen my nan, you know, shout like the way Helen did, but I've seen her heart. I've seen it, so I felt a lot of pressure going into the National that day. And I walked in and I weirdly enjoyed it because it almost felt, I know I sound a it, but it felt like my family were there with me, even when they weren't. I walked out and, you know, Ronnie, when you get that nervous, your lip is literally stuck to the entirety.
Yeah.
You're
dry.
So it was just, oh my gosh, dry. Oh, I went out and had a gin after that, I tell you. But yeah, and when I found out I got the part, I broke down. I literally cried. And there you can hear my dogs in the background. It's just a good job my cockerel Doris is on this week. You'll be hearing him.
Good job it's a late night then rather than morning.
Oh, I know. The worst, we just rescued another cockerel, and I've had to call him Barry because he's got the lowest cock-a-doodle-doo of all your life. He sounds like Barry White, honestly. So yeah, I broke my heart just because it was just this phenomenal opportunity, and that show, Taste of Honey, is a gift of a show.
Yeah,
it's everything at its best. It's raw. It's real. It strikes every chord in every human being, and it kind of emulates from people who are teenagers up to the age of 99. So, and again, when we started on it, I should say we had a brilliant team that were just really strong. Yeah, we had a brilliant time with it.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you as well. Like, that's the way I feel about it, is that, and I think me and Libby have both had a conversation about that as well, is that it is really familiar. And I think that's the thing about reading it. It feels really familiar. You feel like you've heard the voices, even if some of the things that are being said are not necessarily nice. And actually, it really, Taste of Honey is quite funny. It's a lot funnier than you think.
Ronnie, you couldn't be more right. It's how I've battled with my mother sometimes.
Yeah.
But you love her with all your heart, but you put each other in the place. And I just think, gosh, you forget what a game changer Taste of Honey was all those years ago. I don't think anybody was expecting the thing that literally shook the nation. And like you said, it was voices that you'd never heard of, and it's not all singing and dancing. It's not all the Noel Coward, and sadly, it's not all the Chekhov. But it was just something that stood on its own, and it was a voice for women. Taste of Honey literally set down the book and go, "Here you are, cocker, let's go." And it's just brilliant. It really is.
Yeah. It's like, here's everybody. There's the flaws and all, really, I suppose.
Yeah, but they're the best characters to play. The more flaws, the better. And me and Gemma Dobson, who played the most amazing Jo. Oh, she's phenomenal. She just brought every flaw out, and that was the beauty of it. And it was great to discover that. And Bijan Chipani, who was a director, he was really intricately putting all the bits together. And what was interesting in our particular production, like, music was reintroduced to it. I think Sheila originally wanted it, I'm pretty sure, like a jazz band in there. And we had a little jazz trio on stage that kind of almost orchestrated all the movements and the scenes. And that was quite exciting. And it was just that great companion about all the music coming together.
Yeah, and
really was.
And they weren't disruptive. It's like weirdly, as wonderful as they were, you kind of forgot they were there at the same time, because they just melted within the set, because obviously the set moved around as well. So it all kind of moved in a fluid way.
It was just funny, right? I shouldn't say this, but I'm not going to name any names because there's three of them. But you can imagine doing a show again and again, and every night after night, you become complacent, don't you? Yeah. And it was towards the end of the run, and I was like, what's that sound? What's that sound? And it was one of the guys checking the football scores, but he didn't realise he had the sound on his phone.
Oh, no.
But you see, I love stuff like that. I'm sure you could hear in the background, like, goal. I was like, whoa, what's this? What's going on? Oh, dear.
That's live theatre for you.
Oh, you can't beat. Do you know, that's what you miss throughout the whole of this. You can't beat live theatre. There's nothing like it. And, well, there never will be. Never will be.
No, and I think, obviously, I think you've got to, in a weird way, embrace the changes and figure out where you fit in with those changes in the coming months. I think, definitely for smaller venues, I suppose, like ourselves. And I think bigger venues as well. I think bigger venues who generally do kind of really big, productions are probably going to have to think in a much different way.
Yeah, you kind of think, the one good way, I think, to look at it is possibly the smaller venues might work, because you've got to fill these big houses, and it's the capacity for safety, getting people in and getting people. I went to watch a show at the Nottingham Playhouse, and it was so well organised. People were so careful, and the way they got everybody in and the way they got everybody out. But you think streaming's taking off now, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm watching lots of stuff online, which is great, but you just want these theatres to keep going and working under those circumstances, because it's tough for everybody, isn't it? It really is.
It is totally tough. I think it's the idea of not being able to plan, I think, as well. It's just because obviously things are changing from month to month, I suppose. Yeah.
I talked to a guy called Nicholas Foster, and he's the artistic director at The Curve, and he just said, it's that thing of going, nobody who runs any theatre has ever prepared for this circumstance.
No.
You can't, it's the thing, I've gone on stage with my back out. I've gone on stage, with a bit of a limp, and a cold sore taking over half my face, but the show always goes on. Even if someone's kind of fallen over in the wings, there's some poor bugger thrown on with a book going, get on with it. So I think there's that kind of element where you go, you miss it, and because we all have such a passion for it, I think that's why we've all missed it so much, because it's part of our genetics, isn't it? It really is.
Oh yeah, because it's in your heart. I think you always find a solution or find a way to do something, in some form.
I'm dangerous. The longer I stay at home, the more animals I rescue.
Maybe it could be your sideline.
Oh God, it's just me clearing up after them all the time. It's just a friend came round and he said, "Do you know what? This is not in lockdown. This is all pre-lockdown." He said, "You know what?" I was like, "It's like walking into a game of Jumanji." Sorry, Robert, I interrupted you then.
No,
sorry.
it's fine. So where did it all finish though? Because for us, we saw you down at the Lowry. I think it was right near the...
Yeah, Lowry, wasn't it? Yeah, we finished. It was at the Lowry when it was always talked about if we were going to go and transfer into the West End.
Right.
And we didn't really know. And it was all generally dependent on the Lowry, how the show went and how much people liked it if we were going to get the West End transfer. I remember Cash, one of the producers, coming up and going, "I'll see you in the West End." Well, that was it. I was absolutely just... I was so thrilled. But it was lovely to take it to every city because it's still on the curriculum. And the passion of the people we met, I was like, it was very humbling to know that, Sheila's words that you are proud to represent still resonate in every single community from town to town you go to. So we did a full tour of the UK week by week and we ended up in the West End.
Brilliant.
It really was. What a way to end the show, eh?
Of course, yeah. And so what was the rehearsal process like then? What was that process? Where did it start? Did you start on script or did you start off script?
All started on script, all on script. And Bijan did it where we were literally, we did obviously our own research prior to coming into the rehearsal room. It's always good to do research, isn't it? I love it.
Yeah.
And then it was like instead of kind of sitting down and having a read through and a whole discussion, it was just like almost I see with people from the north, like, come on, roll your sleeves up, let's get going with it. And that was a great way to do it. So there's lots of time really incorporating the music, lots of time really understanding and picking out the script and why you said it, what you're feeling, where you are, who you are. And it was just a really great process and a really great cast and crew. It was just so well kind of put together.
And what's in the pipeline for yourself now? So what's next for you?
Well, next for me, I'm quite nervous. We've got one, I've written a naughty panto. Oh. Now, I think they just said, "Do we know anyone that can write naughty who's extremely camp?" And they were like, "Jodie." So myself and my pal Neil Hurst, who we've written together before, we wrote a naughty panto for the Turbine Theatre, and they start rehearsals next week. And then I'm doing panto in Manchester. I'll be there. I hope it goes ahead with Jason Mansford and Billy Pearce, and Eric Potts and Jenny Gaynor. And then there's also, funny enough, we've just sold a script to a production company, which is very exciting, a TV series. And then we've just got another TV series out with another production company. And then also next year we're looking into there's 2 musicals in the offing, but I don't know which is going to work. So I always laugh, but the amount of animals I've taken on over lockdown, I need to work to pay for them. So I just need to keep going. We're also doing actually where people come watch online, we're raising money for acting for others. Kath Tilsley has written a short play and we're performing it with at the Leeds Grand. So we're doing that, but everything came and started on one day. Which always worries me when they put the furlough to March, and I'm thinking, do they know something we don't know?
Well,
you do.
Yeah,
we
all
know, don't you?
Yeah, we all had the same conversation. It was like, wait a minute, well how come How come that's happening? What's going on? Is it a secret?
I know, but this is like, look at me. Honestly, I embarrass myself. It's just to let everybody know. The great thing is I'm going to be one of the first people in this area to have the vaccine, because my mum has a care home and I've been helping, because my mum's at a Shield, so I've been helping out the rest home for her. And so we're all going to get vaccinated so we can carry on. But you have to have your flu jab before you have your COVID vaccine.
Right.
There you go.
So is there anything else that you're going to be doing? Because you sound like you're really busy with obviously the panto and all these kind of pilots that are going on, and hopefully the musicals next year.
Yeah, it's always, do you know what? And I'm not just saying that. I've always been really lucky, and because I just love doing it. You know, I love getting stuck in. I love trying. I love learning. But again, it's the people you work with. You know, it's just, don't get me wrong, I've worked with quite a few Jimmy Not Right. But, I know I'm not into that. I can't do that stage, you know, kiss, stab, stab. It's not
my... no.
But, I know. They're not real, though, are they, Rodney? They're not real.
No, I'd rather just, I'm quite straightforward, so I'd rather just be like that. There's no lovey. There's no...
I was going to say there's no flies on the... Yeah. I mean, it's when they go for the 10 kisses. Well, we can't do that now anyway, so it works for me.
Stay away.
Stay away.
Yeah, don't come near me.
At the very beginning of this, we were one of the last events to kind of go, and myself and Tom, we hosted the What's on Stage Awards. And then also I think they were streaming. It was the first year that they were streaming the What's on Stage Awards on BBC Radio 2. So you had to nip up in between your spot and myself and Tom. We went to get interviews with Elaine Page. And you know what? She is a wise woman, that Elaine, because I went to kiss her. And this is when it was just, COVID was in its infancy. I said, no, stay away. I was like, oh, God. I think with Sheila, I think my saddest regret is I just never got to meet her. I just would love to meet her. But, you know, you see so much of, you know, Sheila and Charlotte, her daughter, who I just love to ribbons, that woman. I swear to God, spray a gold and worship her. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I just think Sheila, she was a tour de force for the female voice. And I just often, I'd love to ask her, going, do you really know what you've done for the rest of us? You know, because that thing, you know, you kind of, she has this phenomenal talent, but I just want her, I'd love her to know, going, oh, Sheila, you were bloody amazing, because it is literally paved ways for future writers and future, you know, people finding that, you know, the voice for the working class. And it was just, she's just simply just phenomenal. So yeah, that's my one regret, is never getting to meet Sheila.
Yeah, and I do kind of agree with you. I think in a weird way, she probably doesn't realise, you know, kind of.
No, because she's just like, you know, Charlotte said, she was always so humble with everything she did. You know, she was kind of bewildered how the world wanted her, and I just think, Sheila, if you only knew, you know, and it's a credit to her. A credit to her as a person, that her work is still being played out, you know, in schools across the nation and in, you know, plays across the world. So she's just, I hope she's got what she wanted. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I said that to Libby. I'll ask Libby in a minute if she's got anything that she wants to ask you, because she's been very quiet sat here.
Hi, Libby, you're right.
Hi, Jodie, nice to speak to you.
Oh, lovely to speak to you too.
So Libby wrote her first play when we first started kind of doing the Shelagh Delaney kind of day, and we'd always encourage our young performers to write in some way, shape or form. And Libby had said, oh, I quite like writing, you know, and it's like, oh, right, okay, didn't know that. And she wrote a short monologue, and then she was involved in another new piece of writing. And after writing this monologue, we said to her, do you fancy writing a play? And she was like, yeah, okay then. Now, bear in mind, she was only 16 at this point. So she wrote her first play when she was 16.
You're a little gem. You need to get your work out there. I'd love to read it. What was the play about?
Well, it was called Things We Tell the Hours After Midnight. And it was sort of about racism and Islamophobia and how young people can be impacted by that, by what they're hearing at home from the parents, and the consequences of that then. To be honest, I'd never heard of Shelagh Delaney until at the theatre when Salford Arts Theatre started doing Shelagh Delaney Day. And I remember in the classes we did a class about her, and we learnt all about her and stuff. And I was just so inspired, and I remember my first time reading A Taste of Honey. That was massive for me, because that was the first play I'd ever read that I could relate to, and it was about the people I knew and understood. Because I'd always been writing, but I'd never shared it with anybody, and I'd just sort of kept it to myself. But reading that was the moment where I thought, oh, well, maybe I can share my work. Maybe I can. She has
allowed so many voices, hasn't she? But
yeah,
do you know what, Libby? There's still not, like, you look out there today, there's still not those voices being heard. It's, definitely not en masse. So just, get your work out there and do whatever you can, because, we all want to hear it.
I think it is probably because there's still a lot of people who, like I said before we did that class here at the theatre, I hadn't heard of Shelagh. I know she's on the curriculum still in schools, but I'd never read her work in my school. We'd only done Shakespeare and like Dickens and stuff. So I think that's the problem. I think definitely schools need to do a lot more in bringing plays like A Taste of Honey onto the curriculum and actually using it, because especially in areas like this, it's massive. For, like I say, it's inspired me completely.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you ever read it?
I remember the first time, funny enough, I remember the first time watching it, but I remember the first time reading it vividly. I should say I watched it first, and then my very good theatrical pal, Bobby Delaney, well, there is some relation where somewhere down the line, he said, here, have a read of this. I went, oh gosh, Taste of Honey. And it's just, there's something, it's like, I still can't get used to reading on an iPad or a laptop. I have to have it in paper in front of me.
No, it's not the same.
It's not, is it? It's weird, isn't it? Even those ones that look a bit mattified and, oh God, no, it's all a bit naff. But there was just something about having it with that kind of slightly off yellow paper. Didn't put it down. And I was like, oh, and like exactly what you said, Libby. I was like, I hear those voices. Like I said before, I could hear my nan, I could hear my mum, I could hear my granddad. I know there's some really dark moments in Taste of Honey, and it's just amazing how she kind of twists them, tear your heart out, and then tickles your sides to make you giggle. But it was just, really shook me. I was like, this is something. Yeah, I do remember that.
I think one of the best things about it as well is that it's timeless. Like, you can still now when I read it, I can still relate to that mother-daughter relationship with my own mum. Like you say, my nana as well. It's still also relatable.
There's something in the war.
Definitely is.
Oh, find the Northerners are kind of, they can be sharp to cut you, but they can be hard to love you. Do you see what I mean? There's that kind of, and there's that great warmth that you just, I don't know, it's hard to find it in other productions, and look, there might be something out there that I kind of go, I have to hold my hands up, but, especially when you're working on anything with a kind of a northern vein to it, probably because I'm biased, but it's just, it's very warm.
Yeah. It's got that northern humour as well, hasn't it? Because like you say, there's definitely like dark bits in the play, but it still manages to have that humour throughout it. I think that is what Northerners do best, isn't it? It's just laughing when the chips are down.
But I'm not dropping my mum in it, but this is a perfect example, right? So I get asked to sing at the Royal Albert Hall. Dreams made, got on the rehearsal stage. I was crying my eyes out, and it was for the John Barrowman and the concert there, so I was supporting him. So I was like, oh, this is it. I'm at the Royal Albert Hall and everything. So, like you do, I had this whole brand new frock made. I mean, I sparkled from head to toe. I was a walking Christmas tree. And my mum came down to watch. Did me full song, and then after the show she went, you look like a house guide in that dress. But I know it came from a loving place, weirdly, but I was like, just become so deflated. But yeah, you can't beat the Northern Heart, but it certainly beats you sometimes.
Yeah, but I totally agree. It comes from a warm place. It comes from a place of love.
Keeps you humble.
It came for 3 weeks at Weight Watchers after that comment, but I'm still back to square one after lockdown.
We hope that you've enjoyed our first In the Company. We'll be back on the official Shelagh Delaney Day, Wednesday the 25th of November, with her daughter Charlotte Delaney. So, ta-ra for now.